10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hi, and welcome to Dax Chats. In this episode, we're headed off to the UK, Birmingham to be exact, and we're speaking to a young lady who brought out her debut single called Whiplash recently, and it hit #1 on the iTunes country charts in the UK. Since then, she's brought out her EP, which is called Blown Away, and today, Dax Chats to Charlotte Young, and here she is.
Hello,
How are you?
everybody.
Hello. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you, Dax?
I'm doing very well under the current circumstances that we find ourselves in this world. It's a
Sure.
strange year, isn't it?
I mean, that's one way to put it. Sort of like Pandora's box of the year.
Yes. Yes. Well, it's been a hell of a ride for you. You've come out with a debut single that's gone to #1 on the iTunes charts. Talk us through the single Whiplash.
Yeah, sure. So Whiplash was a really cool story because it wasn't actually supposed to be on the EP at all. It was a song that I wrote, and I didn't think it was strong enough, to be completely honest with you, because I didn't know what I wanted to do with the arrangement or anything like that. So I took it to a couple of chaps called Danny McMahon and Andrea Succi from Puzzle Maker Studios down in Bristol. And I said, I'd like to make a record with you because they reached out to me and it was really cool. But I had no idea what I wanted to write. So I gave them the songs that I had. And they were like, yeah, we've got 3, but we need one more. And the songs I kept playing to them, they weren't sure on. And then I played them this one, which was Whiplash. And they went, that's the song. That's the single. That's what we want. So we produced it. It came out and did really, really well in the charts, which was absolutely crazy. Very helpful lady, Rachel Selleck from Scarlet River Management, helped me push it. And it hit #1, which was a shock and still a shock. And yeah, it just seems to continually be doing well. It hit #1 in Italy as well on the European Academy chart, which is really cool. But yeah, it's just this little song that I wrote by myself in about 20 minutes. Wasn't sure what I wanted to do with it, and lo and behold, it did really well.
Yeah, it did. Now, #1 on the iTunes country charts in the UK on debut. That has to be something that's not very, you're an unknown artist. That's not something
Sure.
that's easily achievable for somebody who's unknown. So, congratulations.
No, thank you so much. I mean, it's just as much of a shock to me, as
Mm,
I'm sure it was to quite a few people seeing my name at the top, thinking, "Who is this girl? Like, who is
mm.
she?" But yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. So, as I said, you've brought out your EP. It's Blown Away. It's got 4 tracks on the EP. Blown Away is the second track. Um, Talk us through the. Well, it's not really a single, but it is. It has sort of become a single in itself without even thinking about it.
sure, yeah. I mean, Blown Away was always going to make the record. I knew I wanted it on there. There were 2 tracks that I knew I desperately wanted on the EP, and that was Half a Bottle and Blown Away. I thought Blown Away was just a really cool name for the
Mm,
EP as well. So I think what made Blown Away special was that people heard something in Whiplash that they liked, but then
mm,
they heard the title track and it appeals to the rockier fans of country music.
mm-hmm,
I've had a few comparisons, which is really lucky to be compared to like Luke Combs, who has like
mm,
that rocky like style. So
mm-hmm,
I think that's sort of why it's just kind of grown and grown and grown. It seems to do quite well on radio, which is very exciting. I think
mm,
it's just because it sort of punches through everything a little bit. So yeah.
mm. I'll certainly go and have a look for that, because that one's not playing on the Country Thunder Network. However, Whiplash is.
That's cool. The more songs of mine you want to play, you are more than welcome to.
Absolutely, no problem. Okay, so 2020 has been a very strange year indeed. You've had to release music through this pandemic. You've had no way of getting out there. And how has it been for you? As I said, for me, it's been quite easy. I've been able to do the radio station and these Dax Chats interviews and the new Dax Dash. And that all came from the pandemic because I was stuck at home. So, how have you coped with the pandemic?
So I think it's been frustrating. It's definitely been frustrating because I really wanted to perform the EP live. I've not been able to promote it live and in the flesh, which is sad because I'm like connecting with people, but then it's very important to keep people safe. So it's sort of like having this balance of being frustrated, but also understanding why things need to happen the way they do. So it's been a bit of a mishmash, but watching the pandemic unfold has sort of felt like watching someone go through grief, because it feels like you have the element where you're like, oh, I can't believe this is happening. This is crazy. There's no toilet paper in the shops. What's going on? And then you sort of have a stage of going, oh, this is really sad. Like, this is very tragic. People are really suffering in many ways from this pandemic. And then you sort of have like a hysteria phase where you're coming up with all these crazy hobbies you would have never tried before because you're so bored. And then it sort of feels like an acceptance, and it sort of feels normal. Like, I can't imagine going to a shop now without wearing a mask. And if that is what we have to do, then we have to do it. But it certainly feels like we're living in some form of crazy science fiction film.
That's good. We are living in some crazy form of science fiction film. I like that. I've had friends in Australia call it the Corona Coaster, because it's a never
That's a
ending
great name for it.
up and down all over the place. You never know where it's going to go. And the strange thing is, like for us in the Northern Hemisphere, it's going to get cooler. And I think that it's not going to go away in the cooler months. I think it's going to be sticking around.
Sure. No, I can see that. I think it's hard to tell because, of course, we've not really faced anything like this in a very long time. And I think until there's more scientific understanding, the winter could be a blessing or it could be a curse. Like, it could get worse. The bodies are weaker. But then could it potentially survive in the cold? Who knows?
Yeah, well, it actually started in the cold because it was winter here when it was winter here when it started, and it went through the province, the Hubei province, like wildfire. I mean, it just took off. And if the Chinese government had not shut down that whole province of 60 million people, it would have been a lot worse in China. So kudos to them because they kept me safe.
Absolutely. That's good.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but places like the UK struggled. I've been watching and they have struggled, and obviously the US has struggled, both in the Northern Hemisphere, and so we're both cooling down again now. We've been through summer and it's now it's getting cooler, and I don't see an end in sight because I think it started in winter. It went like wildfire, and I think it's just going to go like that again. That's my personal point of view. Yeah. And it even worries me here. I live in a country with a population of 1.4 billion people, and okay, they managed to shut it down pretty quickly, and only 80,000 people got infected. But what happens if there's a huge second wave?
Sure, of course.
Yeah. So, What can we do? Nothing.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, it'd be really nice if we could just like if someone fell asleep one day and went, "I've got the cure," that would be perfect.
That would be
But
lovely. Yes, absolutely.
not likely.
A cure would be fantastic. So now, what have you done to be able to turn things around? Because every artist in the world has had to readjust and try and
Sure.
figure out a way of getting things out there. So, how did you do that?
So I think, although it's a dreadful time, I think people are way more accepting than I was expecting.
Mm,
So I think if this was usual times where we're not in lockdown and I wasn't performing, people would be like, "Why is she so lazy? Why is she not putting anything out?" But
yep.
because no one can put anything out, it sort of feels like there's this general acceptance, which is very helpful. So that
Mm,
has also, it sort of feels like musicians have adapted without even thinking about it, because we've been doing live streams on social media and that has been really helping some artists out, which is
mm,
great. I feel that it's easier to have connected with some people over the pandemic because I've been able to talk to people who usually I would have met in the flesh at a show, but because I've
yep.
not been able to, we've been able to Skype instead or FaceTime, which has been really
Yep.
helpful.
Mm,
So it's just finding a way to make things work. I've just used this time as like a creative hub to write songs, get more content out there. UK
mm,
had a bit of a dip in cases, so they relaxed lockdown. We're still technically relaxed, but whether that's going to come back, I think it's very likely to. I've been able to
mm,
go back to the studio,
mm,
and it's just finding ways of making things fit. But I
mm,
think in the age of social media, we've been very lucky.
mm. For the moment, I don't know if you've seen the stuff going around on Facebook recently
Sure.
about live streams being cancelled on Facebook. You won't be allowed to do live streams from the 1st of October because of copyright issues. How do you feel about that? I mean, like, this is something where, yes, we've had to adapt, and like we can't go out and perform live, so we've used the next best thing. We've used social media, we've used our Instagram, we've used our Facebook, we've done live streams
Sure.
to keep our names out there, to keep our fans interacting with us and stuff like that. And we've been in a lot of ways, well, most people have been giving away their content for nothing. There's no ticketed
Sure.
shows. So you've just been giving stuff away. And then Facebook turns around and says, no more. We're still in the midst of a pandemic, and they go, no more. How do you feel about that?
I don't know if that's going to be permanent. If I'm being completely honest, I don't think that was their best move. I mean, I
Oh, maybe.
think I can understand why perhaps they've done it in the sense of, oh, people are getting upset because of copyright, sure. So
Mm,
why instead of banning it, why not just come up with something that we need to do? So for example, before we do a live stream, perhaps a week before, we need to say we're doing a live stream. This is what we're going to be doing. This is what we're going to be talking about. And sure, if you break those rules, then fine. That's your own fault. But
mm,
surely there should be a way of finding a middle ground, because Facebook aren't stupid. They know that if they get rid of this,
mm.
someone else will come up with a way of doing it.
Correct. Absolutely.
So
And, and the problem is
hopefully there's a solution.
Instagram and Facebook are owned by the same company, so that makes it doubly doubly bad for everybody. Can't use
Sure,
Instagram now
it
either.
does make it harder. I think, but again, I think people, musicians, gamers, vloggers, everyone who exists on the internet, they are far more resourceful than people
Oh
think.
yes.
So
Oh
I
yes.
think it's likely that people could probably do TikTok lives. I know that's becoming quite popular. Twitch, of course, is another
Twitch.
one
Yep.
that could happen. So I think Facebook are likely going to see a drop in usage and then perhaps change their minds and come up with a system that works. Because you can still do
See this.
YouTube live too.
Well, yes. What will happen on YouTube is you will get flagged if you do something wrong. Like if you do a cover song, you know, like you will get flagged. But the way YouTube works is they say, okay, you've done something that is not yours. This is the copyright owner's. It's still there. It's still posted, but you cannot monetize it. You cannot make money off that stream.
Mhm.
That's their simple rule, and I think that's great because I've done that. I've gone out on YouTube and I've performed, you know, whatever I wanted to, and then, you know, they give me a little thing saying this has got a copyright infringement against it. Off you go. You know, you can't make money off this video clip. Don't do it again. All right, slap on the wrist. No problem.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Whereas Facebook, if you do a cover, it gets silenced, you know, pretty much straight away now.
Sure.
And not while you're doing the live. Now, if they pick it up while you're doing a live stream, they'll just shut the live stream down, and that is nasty. I can't figure that.
That's super mean.
Yeah. So apparently that's all going to start. It's ramping up now, but it's all supposed to be in place by the 1st of October. Now, what I think it was, there was a situation where they were trying to help artists, because all these artists had their own virtual tip jars, PayPal, Venmo, whatever, wherever you were in the world, whatever you used, to try and support their career while they had no income coming in. Great idea, fine. So Facebook came up with this idea about stars, and so certain artists were given these stars, and what would happen was the general public would have to buy these stars from Facebook and then give stars to the artist. And
Sure.
for every star the artist received, they'd get 1 cent. So for me, it was, here is Facebook trying to capitalize on music, just like Spotify capitalizes on music, you know.
Sure.
I just think that was a bad thing. And I think Facebook found out that didn't work very well, and they weren't making a lot of money off it. So they decided to scrap the live streams altogether. I think that's what happened.
Sure. That would make sense, to be honest. And, you know, it's upsetting that that's the case because they don't need any more money. That's the truth. They don't need any more. Whereas people who've lost their jobs, that they need it. So what is the crime in just letting somebody do their art? Because it's not like I've gone on a live stream and I've said, you know, this is the song I wrote, this is called Hound Dog, no one else has ever sang this before. No one's done that. Like, people have said, this is a cover of blank, this is my version of blank. No, as far as I'm aware, I mean, I could be wrong, there are billions of users of Facebook, but as far as I'm aware, that's not what happens. So why is it an issue? Because you're not pretending it's your work. If you're pretending it's your work, then to be fair, that's your own fault. But
I guess what happens there is, if you do a cover song, then the problem is the company that controls that copyright then says to Facebook, hey, we need to get paid from that artist because they've done this cover. So that's where doing covers is a problem. I get the whole covers idea, you know, I do, you know, because if somebody sang one of my songs, then I'm supposed to get paid royalties for them singing my song, right? Same as someone sings your song, all right?
Sure.
So I get the cover idea. I don't get why they're not allowing people to do original music. That's my problem.
Yeah, that really doesn't make sense. That's true.
Yep. Anyway, enough of the bad stuff. What is coming for Charlotte Young?
So there's a lot of exciting things that have been happening behind the scenes. So I am working exclusively with a company called Scarlet River Management, and they are helping me with my career, helping me get more shows when we can do them again, of course. Getting things like this, more interviews, and just pushing me out there a bit more, combining our skill sets so we can work together and hopefully achieve something great. I also have been working on my second record with Puzzle Maker Studios. I'm not going to tell you what it is yet, but we certainly have content coming, which is very exciting. And there are a few things I've got lined up as well, which it's sort of going to be news, 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 news. So there's always going to be stuff coming. So it's a really exciting time for me as an artist, and I'm sure people who are fans of what I do, it's exciting for them too, because they can see what I'm up to. And yeah, it's crazy to think that a year ago I had no clue what I was doing, or how to get where I wanted to be. But within a year, I've been lucky enough to have content out and see it do well and have opportunities come from that. So yeah.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Well, we look forward to whatever's coming for you. Will it be before the end of this year, or will we be looking towards 2021?
So there is something coming very soon, within the next few weeks, very soon.
Wow.
So
absolutely.
but there is also the project I'm working on at the moment is still up for debate whether it's going to be at the end of the year or the beginning of next year. We're just going to see what the timeline is, because I should be cutting vocal on Monday and Tuesday, which is really cool. But we'll then see how long it takes for it to be mastered, how long it's going to take for us to get it out there, distribute it. So it's just sort of waiting and watching what the situation's going to be. I don't really have any concerns in regarding releasing anything during a lockdown environment, because both my single and my EP were in a lockdown environment. So for me, it's not as much of a concern, because I believe in the people that believe in my music. So fingers crossed people will enjoy it. So yeah.
No problem. Well, thank you very much for your time this afternoon for you, this evening for me.
Of course.
It's been great speaking to you, and we look forward to hearing your new material when it comes to our email. Scarlet River Management will certainly send it to me, I'm sure.
Oh, sure. You got it. You got it, Dax.
Absolutely. No problem. Well, thank you very much for your time. And okay, everybody, that was Charlotte Young. Her first EP is called Blown Away. You can get that on all your major streaming platforms, or you can digitally download it from iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, all of those wonderful places. And her first single off that album, the debut single, is called Whiplash, and that's also available on all of those places I just said. And also you can listen to it on the Country Thunder Network. All you have to do is go to our website, countrythunder.com.au, and you'll find the player in the middle of the page. You can request the song straight from the player, and you can vote for the song in the Country Thunder 20. So until next time, this is DJ Dax for Dax Chats. We're proudly supported by Neon Horse in Stanhope, Victoria. Bye for now. Say bye.
Bye.